Mr. Money Mike Madness in the building. How you doing, Mike? Seth, how are you? Daniel, how's it going? JB from Wakefield, what's going on? JC, how you doing? Fernando, what's up? What's going on, Speed Racer? Prodigy, how are you? How we doing, folks? Actually, I can't really say that. There's another Red Sox podcast that says that. What's up, Matt? What's going on, everybody? The beard will be gone soon. Well, I guess not really beard. More like stubble will be gone soon. Hola, Fernando. The stubble will be gone soon. Soon it'll just be me and my mustache. Let me get the live counter here going. Let me get that back up. There we go. There we go. If you guys want to help us get to our $1,500 goal this month, all you got to do, Nightbot's coming around. Nightbot is coming around to let you guys know. Hey, donate to Movember. It's a great cause. Great cause. Mental health is very important. Trade Casas sign the polar bear? Absolutely not, Carl. I personally think it's a terrible idea. I guess we'll start there. We'll start with the Casas rumors. That's the title of the video. So that is probably going to be mostly what we're going to be talking about today. I do want to get into some stuff that has gone on in the GM meetings. The GM meetings every year really isn't anything crazy, right? It's just sort of you should interview people live, have fans on. Yeah, I've been working on it a little bit. We'll see what we could do. It's just a little bit difficult with timing and everything. Yeah, the GM meetings overall is never anything super crazy at the beginning of the year. It's mostly just hey, this is sort of, preliminary talks. It's just sort of getting your feet wet with all that stuff. There's nothing really crazy going on with the GM meetings, but there are still some interesting stuff. Obviously, Scott Boras is there every year, so we get some interesting quotes there. And we get some interesting little tidbits about, where the Red Sox may stand in terms of what they're looking for, what part of the market they're going to be targeting. So we'll talk about that a little bit as well. Let's go through some of these questions, though. Sasaki's been mentioned a couple of times. One, people, if you are in on Roki Sasaki, there's a couple things you need to know. One, every team in Major League Baseball is capped at a certain amount of money that they could spend on Roki Sasaki, which means it's really not going to come down to money if Roki is posted, which in my opinion means one thing, and that is that Roki Sasaki, if he ends up pushing to be posted this season, is going to the Los Angeles Dodgers. It's as simple as that. It feels as though the writing's on the wall there. If he gets posted this season, I'm not even going to bother. Maybe we'll cover it a little bit if the Red Sox are involved a bit, because it is something, right? What's going on, Salty? It is absolutely something to talk about. But I just think it's not going to come down to the money with Roki. If he gets posted now, it's going to be like a Shohei Ohtani, right? Where you can give him a certain amount of money, and then you can give him a certain amount of money and a signing bonus. And the signing bonus is capped. So the Red Sox can't exactly go through and be like, yep, we're going to give you $300 million on top of what we're allowed to do. You simply can't do that with the rules. So it's not going to come down to money. That's for damn sure. And that is honestly, for as much as the Red Sox have been afraid to sign, and as much as that sounds good for the Red Sox, it's not, right? It's just simply not. Trying to compete and trying to give a pitch to Roki when it comes to why he should come to the East Coast and play for the Red Sox versus the West Coast and play for the Dodgers. I don't love the odds on that one. So I'm not really going to get into Sasaki too much again, unless they are connected in some way, and then we'll talk about them. But I'm not getting my hopes up with Roki Sasaki. I just simply can't. What's up, Jack? Corbin Burns to the Sox? Boy, would I love that. I would love that so much. He's been connected. Connected's the wrong word, right? We try with Daisuke. Okay. Meek, we're not going to write off every Japanese pitcher because of Daisuke Matsuzaka. That'd be absolutely ridiculous. That'd be completely ignoring Yoshinobu Yamamoto's successful first season, Shota Imanaga's first season, Yu Darvish, Shohei Ohtani, right? It makes no sense to write off every single possible pitcher because that's where the number one player in Major League Baseball is Shohei Ohtani, right? Yoshinobu Yamamoto has a real chance to be one of the best pitchers in baseball. Shota Imanaga was one of the better pitchers in the NL this year. That's what I mean, it's where the best talent's going to come from. They have figured out the best way to generate this talent over there. And it absolutely, if you want a successful baseball team, you have to keep your options open when it comes to Japanese players coming in. You simply have to. That it was a gamble? I mean, sure, right? But you're gambling on any free agent you pick. It's as simple as that. Anyone you give money to, you're going to be gambling on, right? So Roki's also, he's 23, 24, right? You're not giving him the giant contract that you give Daisuke. It's an completely different conversation. Okay, so let's get into the Triston Casas stuff because I thought that'd be a good one to have on here because we've had a lot of conversations recently about the idea of the Red Sox trading Casas and whether or not it's a big one or a small one. Now, Craig Breslow did clarify it a little bit. I'm going to pull up the quote for you guys right here. Let me pull it up. The ads are kind of annoying because it's like directly in front of the quote, but that's besides the point. What I wanted to get to was, so Craig Breslow was asked pretty directly about the idea of trading Triston Casas, and this quote to me stood out a little bit because it's pretty definitive, and that's not really something that Craig Breslow does all that much. Right? What's up, Dennis? Reboot. Not much. He was asked about Triston Casas, and he said, I'm not sure where that's coming from. Casas is a guy that we think has 40 home run potential. He's young and also has a great strike zone discipline and controls an at-bat. We're excited he's on our team. Right? So to me, like over the past couple of weeks when he's been asked about trades, and tomorrow we'll probably get into the big four a bit because his answers to the big four were much different when we're talking in terms of the prospects. But up until this point with Craig Breslow, a lot of what he's been saying is something along the lines of, look, he's a fantastic talent. He's a fantastic asset to this team, but at the same point, we have to keep our options open. We have to explore every avenue because we are trying to improve this team now, so we have to weigh that on the future, right? That's essentially what he's been saying about every single prospect or every single player that has been brought up in terms of a trade opportunity in the last couple of weeks of this offseason. Now, this one is kind of a totally different tone, right? He doesn't say anything about, oh yeah, if the opportunity's there, we'll take a look at it. He doesn't say anything about, oh, we need to keep our options open. No, he says, I'm not sure where that's coming from. We're excited he's on our team. Now, to me, this is the words of someone who's not planning on doing something. What's up, Daniel? This is the words of someone who is not planning on doing something with Triston Casas. And I love that. I don't want the Red Sox to trade Casas. Now, in my mind, it also doesn't totally negate the idea of trading Casas. I just think it's more definitive in terms of, no, we're not going to do this than anything Breslow has said this offseason when it comes to potential trade partners. So I personally don't think that they're going to trade Triston Casas just simply based on this. Now, again, the perfect deal comes along, something that the Red Sox just simply cannot deny, whether that be a free agent that fits perfectly with this team. He just so happens to be an infielder and you move someone else to first base, or whether that be a trade partner that is sitting there and is like, look, you are not going to get this done unless Triston Casas is on the table. And if the Red Sox feel that strongly about them, I don't think he totally stands in their way. But I think we're going to be hard pressed to find a Triston Casas trade partner with the way that Craig Breslow's talking about this. So I wanted to bring this up because it's interesting to me, right? Because Red Sox fans have been kind of running with this idea, not even just Red Sox fans. Red Sox, like Section 10's talked about it, Lou Merloni's talked about it, Will Middlebrooks has talked about it, right? It's been the Red Sox community at large talking about the potential of trading Triston. Now, I never saw it as a realistic option. I think this solidifies it. I don't think Breslow sees it as a realistic option either, which to me is fascinating because everything else has sort of been in the opposite direction. Even guys like Cotillo and Sean McAdams said something similar. So I don't know. I personally, I think that totally sort of changes the narrative when it comes to what the Red Sox are going to do with Triston Casas. I've also heard rumblings of possibly trying to extend him. We'll see how that goes. Not sure I totally trust the source there, but I mean, they tried last year. It's not insane that they're going to try again this year. There have twice been commenters saying the Red Sox will trade for a third baseman, move Devers, and trade Casas. It's not coming from the team. No, it never was coming from the team, but usually when there's enough people talking about the possibility, at some point along the way, there is some sort of legitimate backing to that, right? Whether that be someone hearing something, whether that be someone knowing something that they've been a part of over the last 2 or 3 months, right? And then it just sort of spreads like wildfire. Here, it just doesn't feel like that's the case. Thoughts on the Sox looking at Gleyber Torres for second base? I hate it. I think Gleyber Torres doesn't offer you really anything of value defensively. He's been sort of up and down. Is anyone else's vocal choppy? I'm good on my ends in terms of audio and in terms of visual. But if anyone else has problems, Dan, do me a favor. Just restart your tab or restart the app and see if that helps. What's up, Robbie? Christian Campbell over Torres. So that was what I was about to get into, right? Torres is not great defensively. He had one really. Hey, appreciate that, Sean. Thank you so much for watching. He had one really good season. I think he's been average bat wise. I'm gonna double check myself there. I know he struggled in the first half of this year. I can't remember what he did in the second half. I think he pulled it together a bit. I should like set up Baseball Reference before. Someone said Yohan Moncada. I got mixed up. So yeah, he was a dead average bat this year. He's kind of he's a 2-WAR player. It was 22 was the big year. I mean, last year he was solid. So overall, he's about 12% above league average production. He's good for about 20-ish, 25-ish maybe home runs. I mean, the bat is solid. Trey Casas for Machado. Oh, hey, Mike. The bat's solid. Let me look at the strikeouts real quick. Strikeouts are good. I mean, he's not a bad. The bat would play at Fenway for sure. He's only 27. The problem is you have internal options, right? You have internal options that I think a lot of people would agree could be at this level, if not better. And I think that's where you need to sit there and say, is this what we prioritize, right? If you have a Vaughn Grissom and a Christian Campbell as options for your opening day roster, where Grissom would probably give you, hopefully, right, the idea is he would give you a better batting average, maybe a bit less power from that second base position, but with a bit better defense, whereas Campbell could be better in both, right? When you're looking at ways to upgrade the team, you don't want to attack an area where you're deep in and create a deeper hole for yourself with all these other guys in there. If you're looking to improve the team, you got to look at other avenues and places to go. I just don't think Gleyber Torres is the right place to go when it comes to where to get your right-handed power. I've been liking the great weather this week. Kind of freaking me out a little bit, to be honest with you. I had like a little existential crisis a bit. I was like, oh my God, it's 80 degrees in November. What are we going to do? You only like Moncada? I don't think Moncada doesn't make a ton of sense to me. It's sort of the same conversation as Eloy Jimenez, right? Teammates just so happen, but you look at it and you say, okay, he played 12 games this year. He played 92 games last year. He played 104 games the year before that. He was solid this year, but he only played 12 games, right? In his last 2 full seasons, can you even consider that a full season? He was below average at the plate. He had one really good year, and that was in 2019 because he was mostly healthy the full season. When he's healthy for more than like 130 games, he's a really good player. Problem is he's only done that three times in 9 years, right? That doesn't make a ton of sense to me in terms of fit on the team. I don't know. I don't like Pete Alonso. I don't like Pete Alonso for the price. I don't like Pete Alonso for the fit because I just think you could keep Casas, who's also a great clubhouse guy, who's going to put up similar, if not better numbers to Pete Alonso. Maybe he hits less home runs, but he's probably going to have a higher average. He's probably going to have less strikeouts. He's probably going to have more walks, right? Rizzo, I absolutely do not do Rizzo. No. Yeah, maybe Moncada is a bench role, but again, you got Romy Gonzalez, who was really solid for you last year. You just re-signed Ref Snyder, right? So and then you got Grissom, you got Campbell, Meyer at some point, right? You've got all these infield bats that you've been talking about. Where do you put all of them? And then you add in Moncada. I'm so out on Anthony Rizzo, it's not even fun. He's a good guy, but he's had injuries. He's going to be 35. He's a left-handed bat. He's a solid defender, don't get me wrong. He's a solid defender, don't get me wrong, but at the same point, he's a high strikeout. Well, he's a low strikeout guy, but to me doesn't make a lot of sense to bring in Anthony Rizzo. There's no fit. There's no need for him on the team. Again, really solid defender. Still at 34, really solid defender, but I don't know. When they failed to acquire him in 21. Breslow said Casas is staying. Yeah, so we went over the quote. I'll put it up one more time when I'm making the Duvall vid. I'll probably make it for Saturday, actually. It's just there's so many quotes coming out. Like, I also want to get into some of the quotes from GM meetings because those are interesting too. So here's the quote talking about Triston Casas. A couple of people have been asking. Again, to me, I know some people have already heard this. I'm just going to say it another time for those who just came in. This is the first time we've sort of heard Craig be definitive when talking about a player in terms of trades, right? Before this, he would always go out and he would always say at the end of whatever he said to compliment the guy because he's not going to go out there and bash him. He'd always say, but look, we got to keep our options open. We're balancing. Like the big four is what we're going to be talking about in tomorrow's video. We're going to be talking about the possibility of him trading one of the big four because he talked about that at the GM meetings. But in there, he said something along the lines of, but we have to keep our options open. We are working to win now as opposed to the future. We need to figure out which one works and which players don't, right? That's sort of what he ends these sentences with. This one, again, I know you guys have already heard this, but I just want to reiterate for the new people in the chat because we've only been live for 20 minutes. This one, he's straight up, I don't know where that's coming from, right? I don't know where that's coming from. We're excited he's on our team, right? There's no mention of, hey, what about the possibilities? There's no mention of, keeping your options open. There's no mention of weighing the future versus wins now. It's flat. It's simple. To me, it sounds like something where they're like, no, we're good on trading Casas. Like, even if we don't get a deal done this offseason, I think we're good on Casas, right? So that's why I put that up. That's why I wanted to talk about that today. Wish me luck this coming Saturday. Good luck, Steven. Good luck in the tournament. Shane Bieber after signing Max. So there was something interesting about Shane Bieber the other week, because I know a lot of people have been putting that up. One thing that was mentioned was that there's the possibility that he's looking to stay with the Cleveland Guardians because he wants to rehab with the Guardians, which kind of makes sense, right? I don't know. I don't know if Shane Bieber's a realistic. Maybe he is. I don't know. But that's just the first rumblings. Again, all this is going to change as the offseason goes on. But this is what we're hearing right now. Who's their backup first baseman / catcher? Catcher's the interesting one because there really isn't one in the system right now unless they're ready for Kyle Teal. Although Craig Breslow, again, going back to these GM meetings that we're going to be talking about a lot today, going back to those, there was a quote in there where he was talking about, we don't think Kyle Teal's ready to start opening day for the Boston Red Sox. We think he needs more time to develop, which I've been saying for a little bit. Just going to toot my own horn. So you don't really have Kyle Teal yet. You've got Connor Wong, and then you've got an open spot. First base, again, I think majority of the time it's going to go to Triston. I do think you have some options that can play there on an irregular basis, right? You've got Romy Gonzalez, you've got Connor Wong, you've got Ref Snyder took some reps at first base. When he's fully healthy, I think he's going to get some looks over there, right? So you do have options at first base. To me, first base isn't entirely, especially backup first base, isn't entirely like a, oh my God, we need this, right? Again, you're taking the risk that Casas stays healthy. But even if he doesn't, I think you do have enough depth there to maintain yourself for an extended period of time without overextending yourself, especially with the depth you have in the minor leagues. Like, do they hold on to Chase Mydroth, who I believe has gotten not as significant, but some reps over there at first base, right? Let me just double check that. I think he did get some reps over at first base, batted ball, fielding. No, he doesn't have any reps over at first base, but that's a guy that maybe you hold on to and see if you can. Why would we need to sign Goldie to approve a deal? What would he need to prove on the Red Sox, right? Like what would we need? So, but the catcher one's an interesting one to me, Eric. That's why I put in the video like a new Red Sox target. I think that comes to mind almost immediately would be Travis d'Arnaud, right? d'Arnaud has some experience at first base. He's an average catcher behind the dish, and that's saying something compared to what you have behind the dish right now. He's older, so it wouldn't be a crazy long contract. I think that's absolutely someone you should take a look at. If I was the Boston Red Sox, I said the Duvall video will probably come out Saturday, unless there's news. Would love to see Corbin Burnes and Jack Flaherty. Flaherty for me is a very interesting, I would say, case. There's such a specific contract that I think you'd be okay giving Flaherty to. I mean, what I'm curious to see is what the first pitcher is going to sign for, right? Because one of the things we talked about and was really big for us was when they gave Nick Pivetta the QL. Well, coming out of the GM meetings, one thing that stood out to a lot of reporters, either that be MLB reporters or Red Sox reporters, just saying, look, a lot of teams are interested in Nick Pivetta. Like, they think his market's going to be good enough where he's not going to take the qualifying offer. And I think that's fascinating because I don't think any of us expected that. I don't think any of us sat here. I literally, going into the offseason, I was like, I don't know what his market's going to look like because he's essentially a mid to below average starter, right? That's kind of it. He gives you some innings, sure. He's never been like for the Red Sox, he was a workhorse, but in terms of Major League Baseball, He's been like a true workhorse, right? I mean, he was this year, but they're like his best years after that were 150, 160 innings. I didn't know what to get. So it's interesting. What's up, Austin? It's interesting that coming out of the GM meetings, the sort of tone is, yeah, the Red Sox were smart to give Nick Pivetta the QO because there is going to be a market. And I think that's fascinating. What happens with Dobbins and Fitz? I think they're just Dobbins more so than Fitz, but I think Dobbins is I think he is a depth piece for the Red Sox. I'm a little nervous about Connor Song just because he got so... Oh, Wong. Yeah, but Seth, a lot of... You know what? It's fine having a Fenway merchant on the Red Sox because you play 81 games there, right? I have no problem with someone on the Red Sox being a Fenway merchant. Not at all. Way too harsh for Pivetta? I don't really know... I don't really know what I said that's harsh for Pivetta, right? If you look at the statistics... Like people always say that you're being too harsh on him. No, I am just strictly looking at the overall statistics. He's a career 4.76 ERA with a 4.36 FIP, so it's not like he was getting unbelievably unlucky. He had a 92 ERA plus, so he was 8% below league average in his 8 seasons in Major League Baseball. His strikeouts are great. His walks are fine. He gives up a lot of hits. He gives up a lot of home runs. We know this. We know this. He gave you 145 innings this year. He's had one season where he's pitched more than 155 innings. He's a 1.8 WAR player. It's not harsh. It's not me sitting here saying he's a bad player. I never said he was a bad player. I'm telling you he's a below average fifth starter. Where in the statistics are we saying he's not? $5 super chat from Anthony. Can we get some claps in the chat for Anthony, please? No message attached. Just being incredibly nice. He shows up in big spots. That's fine. That's great. But you also have to show up in every other spot, right? You have to be able to show up in every other spot as well. I don't know. Like with the Red Sox, he's been good. Again, I'm not saying he's a bad pitcher. He's just a below average one or an average one, which is fine if you already have. Like the problem I have with Nick Pivetta isn't so much Pivetta himself. My problem with Pivetta is where he fits on the Red Sox, right? Because if you're bringing Pivetta back, you're putting him in the number 5 spot. You're paying him to be a number 5 starter, ideally, right? But the problem is if you do bring him back, you're not improving the main portion of the rotation that I think a lot of Red Sox fans want to see improved, and that's the top of the rotation. You've got Houck. He's a top starter. Regardless of what you think, he is statistically last year, he was a top starter in Major League Baseball, one of the 10 best in the AL when it comes to ERA. Okay? He's at bare minimum number 2. But outside of that, you got Bayo, who's right now at 3. I think he has the potential to be better, but right now he's maximum at 3. You've got Cutter, who's in the same boat. Then you got Fitz and Priester, who you don't really know what you're going to get from. Right? But you have a solid foundation in this rotation. What you don't have is the guy that could say F you. Right? Give me Soto, give me Judge, give me Ohtani, give me Freeman, give me Betts, give me Acuna. I'm going to light their socks on fire in 3 pitches. You don't have that. $10 super chat from Austin. Can we get some claps to the chat from Austin? Thank you so much, Austin. First super chat in the live stream. Really, really appreciate that, Austin. His comment was, flame, flame, flame. You're the man, Austin. Thank you. I appreciate that. So my whole point with this is that I have no problem. Can we get some likes on Austin's message, by the way? I have no problem with Nick Pivetta. I have a problem with what he does for this Red Sox rotation. That's where my problem lies. It is nothing to do with Nick Pivetta, the pitcher. If The Red Sox already, if Nick Pivetta was under control for 2 more years, or say he was under contract for 2 more years, and the Red Sox went out and they got freed, right? Or the Red Sox go out and they get freed and they bring back Pivetta, I have no problem with it because you're improving the top of this rotation. But my point is that if you sit there and you say, well, the Red Sox are most likely going to be hamstrung by a budget, they're most likely going to have an issue reeling in big fish because they just haven't been doing that for a little bit now. That's where their focus needs to be. That's my whole point. So it's not so much that I'm too harsh on Pivetta. It's not so much that I don't like the guy. It's just simply where he fits in with this Red Sox team, and I think that's pretty logical. A couple of people asking about Priester. I think they're being pretty patient with him. I don't really think there's any reason for the Red Sox to go out and have to go get a Priester into this rotation, right? I personally I don't see a true need for it right now. Plus, at the same time too, with Priester, you could sit there and you could say, well, he's what? He's going to be 24 next season. Yeah, he's going to be 24 next season. Right? If you bring him up at 25, or you give him a half year in Boston and at 24, maybe he's a long reliever for a little bit. I don't think that really detriments his trajectory with this team. Do I think they keep Fitch stretched out regardless? Yeah, they'll probably. I think they're going to stretch out any potential starter until they make roster cuts in spring training, right? It's so much easier for a starter to go into a bullpen role than a bullpen role into the starting rotation. So they'll stretch out everyone they can. What's up, Mr. Bob Dylan? Prodigy. Does Pivetta accept his QO? So originally I thought no-brainer. Nick Pivetta is accepting the QO. But over the last couple of days, again, in the GM meetings, I just said this for people who didn't hear, though. Word on the street is that there's a pretty solid market for Nick Pivetta. Like, teams are very interested in his services. It sounds like there's a very good chance that he doesn't accept and he takes an offer somewhere else. Like, it feels like there is a legitimate sort of pool of teams here that are sitting there being like, yeah, I could get behind having Nick Pivetta on the team, even if it requires the QO. But at the same time, too, I think it ultimately comes down to, Eric, I think it ultimately comes down to what Nick Pivetta is comfortable with. Is he comfortable? I think he is the type of guy that would bet on himself, but maybe he's not, right? Maybe he's the kind of guy that wants to accept the QO for the comfort for 1 year and then see what he can get in next year's market. He has a couple of weeks to figure it out. He has exactly 12 days to figure it out. So we'll probably hear more as he gets closer. But right now, my gut is telling me no, he's not going to accept the offer, which again would make the Red Sox look like absolute geniuses. If he doesn't, if he does accept the offer, they're going to look like idiots. But if he doesn't, they're going to look really good. Thoughts on Dodgers Game 5 comeback? Incredible. I love Romy. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Romy too. With the Astros age and upcoming decisions on the free agent market next year and this year, a trade for Yoshida, evening up a third of it, money could work. For who? For who, though? Did I see Adames said he's willing to come off a shortstop for teams? Yeah, I saw that. I still, like I said in my video, I love Adames. I've loved him for a while. We made a video about Adames in the 2022 trade deadline, I think. Right? Like, I've wanted him on this team for a while. Like, I wanted him to come over and play second base before there was even a Trevor Story to come over and play second base. Yeah, I guess that'd be the 2022 offseason. I specifically remember making that video. I don't know where he fits in right now. Unless your plan is to move Adames to second and trade Triston or Christian Campbell for someone big, then he doesn't really fit. Do I see the Braves getting Eovaldi? It would be objectively funny. I don't really... Like, a lot of people are like, I'll bring back Eovaldi. I think I'm good, man. The bring back Eovaldi train for me has left the station a little bit. I know we talked about it a bit at the deadline this year, but full contract. He's going into his age 35 season. I don't know. I mean, he's still solid. Don't get me wrong. He's still a good pitcher. 3.80 ERA, 3.83 FIP. Strikeouts were up this year. Walks were down this year. He's given up way more home runs compared to last year. Less hits. About the same amount of hits, though. Less traffic on the base pass. Guess that's a lot to do with the walks. But either way, I don't know. I just... With Eovaldi, I think it's more of a nostalgic thing than it is a man, right? Wow, he would make this team so much better. Blaine, the problem is you're giving up Cutter Crawford, who is a well-cost controlled starter, Miguel Blaze, who has top 100 prospect potential, and Hunter Dobbins, who had one of the better minor league systems on the mound in all of the entire sport last year, for a rental, right? If you're going to go out, and even if you attach Yoshida to that, which drags the value down, which I personally wouldn't do because it drags the value so far down, for like a Cutter Blaze Dobbins combination should be able to, especially because Cutter is a legit major league starter with team control. Dobbins has the potential to be a starter with team control. Again, my personal feelings on Dobbins are that he's probably a number 5, maybe a number 4 with his absolute most, but he still could be a legit major league arm. And then you throw Miguel, like, that's a big package. Right? I don't think I move that for Framber Valdez, even if it gets rid of Masataka Yoshida. I guess it kind of depends on whether or not the Red Sox are willing to spend, right? Who, Prodigy? Eovaldi? Eovaldi would be a strong 2 or 3 in the rotation. Maybe, Eric, but he's also 35, right? He's also 35. So, like, eventually the peak is going to come down a bit. The velocity is going to come down a bit. He's given him more hits than he has before, more home runs than he has in 5 years. Giving him, he was going to want a 2 or 3 year deal. Just doesn't make sense when there are other options on the market. You'd like to see a trade for Mike Trout? Why? Miguel Blaze trade chip? Yeah, I would guess they're going to float Miguel Blaze out there a lot. I think the obviously the emergence of Roman Anthony, coupled with what you already have at the major league level in the outfield, and Braden Montgomery drafted this year. When you're talking about sort of the priority order for the Red Sox, you got to imagine Blaze is 5th, right? I think Duran's definitely above him. Willier's probably definitely above him. Roman Anthony's absolutely above him. Cedon, because of his major league experience, probably above him in terms of just overall value to the club right now. Braden Montgomery, you don't really know what you got. I think he's 5th on that list in terms of priority. I could absolutely see him being traded. Whatever happened to Blaze Jordan? He's still with the club. He got hurt a couple times this year, but he had a pretty solid season. Does Frankie Montas seem good for the Sox? Yeah, no. right? I think specifically with Frankie, it becomes much more interesting if Nick Pivetta opts out of the qualifying offer. He says, "Nah, I'm good," because then you're getting a draft pick. So maybe you do throw one at. Oh wait, did Frankie get one? Am I thinking of Shamanaya? I think I'm thinking of Shamanaya. I am thinking of Shamanaya. I don't know. Again, Frankie Montas is fine, but again, you have pitchers with this caliber on your current roster. If you're gonna go out and get better. Sign Patrick Corbin? Why? Yeah, I agree, Joe. Honestly, a team like I put him in the video today when we talked about Garrett Crochet, Blaze, in that trade. I mean, you got to imagine. I would think a lot of teams would be interested in Miguel Blaze. Like the talent is there for him to be a 5-tool player. Absolutely. Teal isn't going to start the year with the team, Blaine. Do you think if this year doesn't go well, we'll try to trade Durant at the deadline? I don't know. Do you know if you talked about Brady winning Gold Glove? Yeah, I did a whole video on it. What's up, Moose? Where do you see us in the Teoscar Hernandez stakes? I mean, it would make sense, right? Teoscar makes so much sense. He had a very similar season to Tyler O'Neill. The big difference is he struck out 28 to 33. Doesn't sound like a lot, but a 5% difference in strikeouts is absolutely big when you talk about over the course of a season. My one concern with Teoscar, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm totally off base here, but he was real protected in that Dodgers lineup, right? I mean, that's the most protected you could possibly be if you're Teoscar Hernandez. They're like, dude, I'm giving Freddie, I'm giving Mookie, I'm giving Shohei my best stuff. If Teoscar beats us, well then fine, Teoscar beats us, right? I sit there with Teoscar, and again, you look at Toronto. His Toronto years were really solid, but again, you had prime George Springer in there. You had Vladdy, you had Bo in that lineup. Is Devers and Casas enough protection where Teoscar can do 137 OPS plus worth of damage with 33 home runs and 100 RBIs? I don't know. I also think the qualifying offer attached is going to be interesting because even if Nick Pivetta opts out, if the Red Sox are going to spend money, which by the way, one thing that came out of the GM meetings was Pete Abraham reporting that GMs around the league / agents around the league have this inclination the Red Sox will be big players this offseason. Now, stop me if you've heard this before, but we have gone years where they've said that and they've done absolutely nothing. So I don't want to put too much stock into that. But if the Red Sox are going to be big players this offseason, or if they're going to do something significant, they're going to sign more than one top 20 free agent available, more than likely you're going to have to give up at least 2 draft picks. Is that something the Red Sox are willing to do? Or, at least 1 draft pick if you sign 2 of those top 25 guys. There are a lot of guys with qualifying offers this year. Is that something the Red Sox are willing to do? Does Teoscar Hernandez take priority over a Max Fried? Or do they go, hey, no, we want Teoscar. Let's go get Blake Sneller. Let's trade for Garrett Crochet or Andrew Abbott or Nick Lodolo or Yuri Perez or someone, right? Is that the way they go? I think that's where you have that conversation about Teoscar. Gary Sanchez is a backup catcher. Don't love that. Gary Sanchez is Not good defensively, which is, in my opinion, the main reason you would go out and you'd get a backup catcher, right? You want to be good defensively. I mean, he's Gary at the plate, right? The Kraken. He's fine. But I don't really think the fielding makes a ton of sense. And there were years where he was good. There are just so many years where he was so bad. Is Boston a destination anymore? I think it depends on the comparison, Robbie. I think it depends on who you're comparing them to, right? If let's just throw Teoscar out there. This is purely hypothetical. Let's say the San Francisco Giants and the Boston Red Sox are competing for Teoscar Hernandez's services, right? Those are the two teams. Then, yeah, I think it is a destination, right? It's the Giants have a solid fan base. I think the Red Sox fan base is bigger. I think the Red Sox are closer to contention than the Giants are. So I think in that scenario, yes. But if you're talking about the Red Sox in terms of the league as a whole, it's hard to make a case that, especially if the Dodgers are going hunting for something, the Yankees are going hunting for something, the Phillies are going hunting for something, that the Red Sox are, if you're a free agent, in that same realm right now. Like the Red Sox, Craig Breslow specifically is fighting a bit of an uphill battle this winter, in my opinion. I think whenever he's going to talk to, if John Henry can back them up money-wise, right? Hey, you want Teoscar, match whatever deal's on the table to what you're comfortable with. I'm footing the bill. Great. Then it comes down to what's best for the player. And that's where Craig Breslow's really going to have to prove himself as a GM, because he's going to have to go out there. And Teoscar specifically is this one's a tough example to use, because you can't imagine Teoscar's all that jazzed up about the possibility of playing for the Red Sox when last season he flat out said, I want to play for you guys. And they looked at him dead in the eyes and they said, great, we can't afford you, right? Like, that cannot be something that turns on a free agent when you're talking about coming to the Red Sox. I personally, Robbie, I think it comes down to who's getting compared to who when you're looking at what teams are available. If the Red Sox are in a fight with the Phillies, the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Braves, the Mets even, I think it's going to be a bit of an uphill battle. That doesn't mean it's impossible at all. I think, there are positives that you can go out there and run with this Red Sox team, specifically from the pitching side of things, right? I think you go and you talk to Fried, Snell, Burns, and you say, look, this is what we've been able to do with these guys. We've been able to make, nobodies. And not that Tanner Houck and Brian Bale and Cutter aren't nobodies, but in the grand scheme of things in baseball, right, they're not exactly household names. We were top 7, top 8 team ERA in the sport from the starting rotation. This is what we could do for you, right? They have that ability to look at the analytics. They have that ability to look at all that stuff. Oh, and hey, by the way, we're going to give you $32 million a year to do it. Is that enough to go against these Phillies who are like, look, dude, we're going to give you $33 million and you're going to be able to play a Bryce Harper in Red October, right? I don't know. To the show we go. Ladies and gentlemen, if you were looking for insights into what it takes to be a minor leaguer, if you're looking to see what the personality is behind some of your favorite prospects, whether it's the Red Sox or not, to the show we go. Make sure you subscribe. They absolutely kill it over there. It's a new episode. What is it, every week, guys? And they're always doing interviews. That's their whole premise of the podcast. They're interviewing prospects. It's absolutely fascinating. You guys should check them out. I went on an absolute tangent there and totally lost my train of thought. Where were we? I totally lost myself. I'm just going to go to the next question. Do you see the Astros are internally discussing a Ryan Presley trade? Should we consider it? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yes, right? Ryan Presley's been good for the last, 2 or 3 years. I don't know what age he's at. He might be a little bit older. I guess it depends mostly on, I mean, he's 35, so that could be something to consider. But he's been a solid bullpen arm for the last, his entire career except for 2017. I don't know. Yeah, I think you absolutely, if they're considering trading him. Oh, wait, he's a free agent. What are we talking about? Oh, do they pick up the mutual option? I don't know. Either way, if he's a rental, yeah, I think you consider it. Think we'll do anything amazing this offseason? Define amazing, right? I don't know. I think it depends on what what's going to be interesting is what Red Sox fans define as amazing and what ownership defines as amazing, because I think those has the potential to have two different meanings. $2 super chat from Dennis. Thank you so much, Dennis. Can we get some likes on that message? He says, red seat baseball rules. I just turned on the cat toy behind me, so if you hear that, that's on me. Yeah, to the show we go. Absolutely incredible podcast. Make sure you guys listen. Where were we again? I keep losing myself. I'm all over the place tonight, chat. Crochet, Mets and Sox appear to be leaders in the trade for Chicago White Sox. One interesting conversation that has been being had amongst, I don't know if it's analysts or if it's just fans who are deep into the analytics. I think those are two different things. I'm a fan that's deep in the analytics, right? People who know what's going on are anyways, totally besides the point. One thing that's being talked about a lot was, yes, we saw the rumors that the Red Sox and the Mets are sort of at the forefront when it comes to this Garrett Crochet trading option, which is fantastic. But at the same time, you start to have the conversation of, okay, it sounds like the Chicago White Sox is sitting there saying, look, don't even come calling unless you're willing to put up one of your big four. But then you get to the point of, okay, which big four is expendable? Well, I don't think it's Anthony. I don't think it's Christian Campbell unless you sign a guy like Willy Adames, which again would be a move to make a move. So then you look at the Teal and you look at the Myers sort of the world, right? Teal is probably the least valuable of the four if we're talking just strictly on paper. Myers probably the second most valuable, I would say, right now, but he had that injury history and you already have a shortstop. But at the same time, both of those guys on paper, maybe not Teal, but Myers certainly more valuable than Garrett Crochet. So this was a conversation we had in the video today, right? At what point should the Red Sox say, nope, we're good. You guys send him somewhere else. Good luck, right? And I think that conversation is when you start to get into the big four, because I think all of those guys are worth more than what Crochet's put out on paper. Now, if Crochet goes out and has an incredible season this year and is open to an extension next year and you don't get a deal done this year and you go into next year, I think it's a different story. But right now, I don't know if it's worth a Meyer to get a Crochet. I don't know if it's worth that. I agree with that, Dennis. What type of season do I see from Giolito? Pivetta, but a bit better. Like if we get Giolito to have like a 4.41 ERA and 160 innings, I think we're good. If they're going the trade route, I think Luzardo would be a solid pivot if the Sox aren't able to land Crochet. Luzardo, we talk about Garrett Crochet's risk with the injuries. Luzardo might be maybe not worse, but at least on the same level, maybe worse because he's gonna be 27, so he's what, 2 years older, a year older. He's pitched. His one full season was great, 358, 355 FIP, 130 ERA plus. But he hasn't pitched. That's the only full season he's ever pitched, right? And if that's going to cost as much as Crochet, I don't know if I like that. This stupid cat toy, man. Yoshi for Montgomery. I don't hate it. Let me look at the comparison here. The more I'm using baseball trade values, I did this last year too, and then during the year I was like, yeah, I kind of like baseball trade values. But the more I use baseball trade values, the more I'm like, man, this really is. The more I'm like, man, this really is just sort of a starting point, right? This is sort of like. This is sort of like, okay, just to get a basis of what we're talking about. But like the Crochet stuff threw me because it's like, man, I don't think the White Sox go for anywhere near what baseball trade values has them at. But that's a conversation for a different day. All right, let's take a look at Montgomery for Yoshida. So I think you have to throw some money towards the Diamondbacks. I mean, on paper, it's not an equal trade. It's not. So you might need more. Face share coming along nicely. Yeah, I think next week we'll probably cut it down. What do we think? Cut it down here. Maybe we'll do a goatee for a week, and then we'll go down to the mustache. But if you guys can get us to $1,500, then I'll just shave it right away. So click that link right there. Donate. We just gave away a merch package. It has some Red Seat merch. Got some Red Sox merch in it. Pretty cool. Next giveaway is going to be some memorabilia. So if you want to try and get yourself some memorabilia, make sure you guys donate. Do I think Marcel Meyer get traded? My gut says no. I don't think he gets traded. I keep hearing reports that Casas would be on the trade block. Craig Breslow seems to believe otherwise, and Craig Breslow is kind of in charge of this thing. Nightbot in here passing the hat. So this was Craig Breslow's quote on Casas right here. To me, doesn't sound like he's in the market of trading Triston. What do you think we see from Giolito? Again, my best case scenario for Giolito, best case scenario would be like a 3.9 ERA with like 170 innings. I think realistically, like a 4.1, 4.2 out of the fifth spot with 150-ish innings would be really solid from Giolito. Just like a slightly better statistical Nick Pivetta would be great. Who do I think could be wearing a Red Sox uniform of the most talked players this offseason? I think Snell's an interesting name to pay attention to. Most likely is tough. I honestly don't know. Is Luis Guerrero a mainstay in the bullpen? Not yet. I wouldn't say mainstay. No, I think he's got to earn his spot for sure. He's got to earn his spot for sure in the rotation or in the bullpen. Could he be? I think that's a different conversation. I think he definitely could be. How are the big four worth more than Crochet? One of the top four never played in Major League Baseball. It's a pretty good question, Jacob. I think the answer is I don't want to use the word prospect because then I'd use the word twice, but it's the only word I could think of. The prospect of what these guys could be, specifically because they're position players in all of them. I guess Christian Campbell doesn't technically play a premier position, but you got to look at where they're ranked in Major League Baseball, right? So you're talking about Roman Anthony is regarded as one of the top 3, sometimes top 1 prospects in the sport in center field. Christian Campbell's up there in the top 10 at second base, shortstop, third base, outfield. Marcelo Meyer is a top 10 prospect in baseball. He's a shortstop, and Kyle Teal's a top 20 prospect in baseball, maybe 25. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he's a catcher, right? I think you look at the projections of what those guys could be, and that's where you get the value, right? Durant had a lucky year. I don't think it was luck. Will he be able to repeat it as good as he did this year? I don't know. I don't think it was luck. They keep saying Max is going West Coast, but I hope we slightly overpay and start his Boston career. I kind of like the West Coast bias with Max Fried. I don't think I've... Let me see if I can find the exact article. So it looks like to me the connection to the West Coast is, one, obviously it's where he's from, but two, it sounds like it's from former teammates. Or former Braves in general. That's kind of what it is. It doesn't look like it's from Max Fried directly. I've always hated that narrative, right? Oh, they want to go back to where they're from, which in a lot of cases, I think yes. But if you're a guy like Max Fried who simply is going to get a lot of money on free agency, I don't think, unless the money is about the same, which it might be, right? Again, you're going to have to overpay for some of these players. But if the Red Sox give Max Fried $50 more million than the Dodgers do, or maybe the Giants or whoever is offering him money, right? I really don't think he's going to sit there and he's going to say, you know what? I think I'll take, 50, 60 less million dollars. Now, where I think the East Coast, West Coast preference comes into play is a guy like Eovaldi, right? He's on the back half of his career. He doesn't have a lot of time left. He's probably not going to get crazy money. The difference in contracts is probably going to be years-based and not so much salary-based. Right? Then you sit there and you could say, oh, yeah, you know what? I'm going to take, I'll take one less year and $15 less million to finish out my career in Texas as opposed to Atlanta or whatever. Right? But with a player like Max Fried, you're talking about giving up multiple years of comfort, multiple years of big money just to stay at home. I don't think it's as, this was the same conversation we had with the Jordan Montgomery thing last year. Remember, there were so many connections made to Jordan in Boston because his wife worked in Boston, is doing her residency there for the next couple of years. Well, how did that end up? Right? I just, personally, I don't think it has as much to do. Unless, again, if the Red Sox are like, look, we're going to match the Dodgers, we're not going to go any higher, why wouldn't you go to the Dodgers, right? Do I think Rafaela will be a stud? What's up, Mark? Maybe not a stud. Maybe not like a perennial all-star or anything. I think he'll be a solid player, specifically defensively. They have the potential to be Warrior. Is he going to be replaced by Meyer? I think that depends on health, Seth. I think that depends on health. If MLB proposed draft pick trading, you think the Red Sox would acquire for the first pick? Wait, I'm confused by the question, Mike. So if they could trade draft picks, what would they have gotten for Mookie or Xander? Or if they had the first pick and they had to choose between Mookie or Xander, who am I taking? Do I think Rafaela will be an 800 plus OPS type player next year? No. Yeah. Mark, you're not wrong. Let me see what Rafaela's OPS was this year. It was a 664. If Rafaela gets like a 720 OPS, he's a much, much, much more valuable player. Oh, would they trade their draft pick for a Mookie or a Xander? Oh, like their first pick in this year's draft? No. No, I don't think so. I don't think it would get that high. I mean, they'll have what, the 12th, 14th pick. I don't think, unless it's like, unless they can guarantee multiple like number 1 or number 2 draft picks. I don't think so. We still trading Willie. God, I really hate the idea of trading Willie Abreu. I just, it's what do you hate more? Do you hate the idea of trading it? Someone's got to go from the left-handed pool they have at the big league level. Willie makes the most sense. What's up, Mike? Or Pac-Man, sorry, I was reading Mike's message while talking to you. Do you think the Sox trade for Nolan Arenado then move Devers to DH? I don't. I said in the video, it would have to be a perfect world, right? And I just don't see it happening. Yeah, I don't see it. What's up, Noah? Could you see us trying to get Devin Williams? I actually wrote Devin Williams down as a trade possibility. You trade Romy Gonzalez for a Klondike bar? Why? Romy was one of the better bench players the Red Sox have had in a while last year. That'd be a really dumb move. Yeah, I wrote him down as a trade possibility. It's somewhere we're going to talk about for sure. Devin Williams would be great. I don't know what the Brewers' likelihood of trading him is. I don't think it's high. Any chance we sign Adames? I mean, it came out today that he'd be willing to move positions, so I wouldn't say there's no chance. I wouldn't say there's no chance, but I wouldn't put money on it for sure. Again, we talked about this, Mark, right? Like with Adames, even him publicly stating I'd be willing to move positions, there's still a large part of me that has to believe that if he gets a shortstop offer, he's going to take a shortstop offer. Because the Red Sox, too, aren't a team that are going to give their, I don't know, I guess they did do it with Story, but they were expecting, I don't know. Yeah, that's the rumor, Moose. We'll see if it's true. It would guarantee David Hamilton time. I actually don't think it would. Because if they trade Romy for nothing, then they just put Christian Campbell on the roster. What's up, Wes? Why trade rookies just because we have Massa? Because Massa gets you nothing, and rookies get you a lot. What are the chances of signing 2 aces? They don't really need 2 aces. They just need someone at the front. Honestly, it's really what they need. Here's the controls of Bray you have. I think he's a free agent 2030. Let me give you the full answer here. Yeah, 2030. So you have him 25, 26, 27, 28, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. 5 years. Who's getting traded soon? We'll see. Honestly, Noah, I was in your boat too until the quotes started coming out about the GM meeting from the GM meetings. A lot of rival, yeah, we'll say rival executives are in agreement that there's going to be a big market for Nick Pivetta. It's all going to depend. If he opts out of that, the Red Sox are going to look like geniuses. If he takes it, they're going to look like idiots. We'll see. How well do I see Ref Snyder doing? He'll probably be exactly the same as he was this year. That'd be my guess. But the hope is you don't use him as much, right? You can put him into that specialist role of just essentially strictly a left-handed killing machine in the back half of games, and he'd be really good. Could Guerrero become a closer? Yeah, he could. I just don't know if he's there yet. Would I rather keep Wong as a catcher against lefties plus Teal against righties, or get rid of Wong and get a more defensive catcher? The problem with that hunt is that you would have to put Kyle Teal in the opening day roster, and it doesn't sound like the Red Sox are willing to do that. So that's not really a conversation they need to have just yet. I do think they need a backup defensive catcher though. I think they need to simply for the playoffs, given the strength of some playoff teams. Yeah, that's fine, Jack, but you have a number 2 in Tanner Houck. Like Tanner Houck is a solidified number 2 after the season. I mean, I think people are just like forgetting that because Tanner Houck isn't getting paid, $250 million, that he's not a good player. Like, he was fantastic, even with the fall off in the second half, which really was a fall off in 1 month. He had a 3.12 ERA with a 3.32 FIP. He gave up the least amount of home runs in the AL. His strikeouts were down a bit, but his walks were way down from what they were. His hits were way down from what they were last year. His whip is solid. He had a 137 OPS or ERA plus. If he was on another team, people would be begging the Red Sox to go out and get Tanner Houck. Right? I just like he had one of the best first halves in all of baseball. This is an absolute number 2. And then you get Bayo, who we talked about the last 10 starts. He looked like a legit number 3. Tanner is great, but I'm thinking about the bats they'll have to face, and the more great pitching, the better. That's fine, but Tanner beat those bats. What are my bullpen signing predictions? I think they go relatively. I don't think they go for Tanner Scott. I wonder if Hoffman's an interesting possibility. I wonder if Minter's an interesting possibility. Those are the 2 guys I have on my list. Corbin, Fried, or Burns. It's weird that you say Corbin, Fried, and then Burns. I know it's my name. It looks weird on paper, Moose. Fried, in my opinion, he's a better fit. As much as I love Corbin Burns is a better player, in my opinion, but I don't know why you're sorry, Pac-Man. That is word for word what I said in both my video and this live stream. What do you think we see from Whitlock? Hopefully back to a dominant bullpen arm. Yes, Jack. Another guy who does it would be great. That's one other guy, right? And then you have a full legitimate. Again, the Red Sox had a top 7 rotation in the sport this year. People don't realize that they had a underrated rotation this season. You add one ace to that, you're probably talking about close to a top 5 rotation in baseball. They were number 2 in whip. They were giving them no traffic. How would I manage the Christian Campbell versus Vaughn Grissom situations? I'd let them fight it out during spring training. Whoever wins, wins. Whoever doesn't gets optioned down. Grissom's got an option. Gets optioned down to AAA. Burns from Bakerfield. I'm from Bakerfield. Well, get on the phone, Wes. What are you doing? Get in there, dude. Giolito, J.O. Should we get Alexis Diaz? I'm not really too big on Alexis Diaz. Who would I rather move? Massa obviously would be who I'd rather move. But who would I think could bring in way more value? It's not even a question. It's Abreu, right? But those guys aren't even in the same realm. Abreu, Blaze Jordan, and Blaze. That's not going to get it done. Not going to get it done. No. Sign Max a stud lefty. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Max Fried, I have no arguments. If Manaea was the only pitcher, no. I don't think that would satisfy me. Right? I don't think I'd be pumped. What would we get from Asa? Nothing. If the Red Sox are taking on the contract, if the other team is taking on the contract from the Sox, nothing. The bare minimum is what you get from Asa. How fun do you think this team is to watch? Look, they were a roller coaster this season. They finished terribly, made the last month miserable. But if we're looking at the season overall, they were a fun, young, energetic team. Despite the injuries they battled, and I think they were a fun team to watch. And will we be more fun next year? That depends on if we're competitive. If the Red Sox aren't competitive, they're not going to be as fun to watch. If the Red Sox are competitive, yeah, absolutely. Don't need a trade. Don't need a trade for Jack Flaherty, Steven. He's a free agent. Nick Castellanos from Masataka. Yeah, I saw that online. I like that idea a lot. The beautiful thing about this offseason is there's so many options, right? Just this live stream. You guys have been putting in chat 100 different ways the Red Sox could go to improve this team. Yeah, the 04 documentary was great. Drew Smiley, I'm out on, Ryan. I haven't looked into Scott Alexander enough to give you an opinion on that. You think Theo is advising Breslow? Yeah, I think so. Maybe he's not in the room with every decision he's making, but I think they're definitely on the phone for pretty often. If we had Giolito, Casas, Story, and Whitlock, do you think we make the playoffs? Like fully healthy this whole season? Yeah, I think you do. Especially if you still have the fall off from Kansas City and Minnesota in the second half. I think you do. Yeah, Manaea looks like he legitimately figured something out this season. I think Manaea totally depends on whether or not Nick Pivetta opts into the qualifying offer or not. Are cheaper than signing Juan Soto? Just give me Soto. That'd be sick. People are thinking the Red Sox Teoscar again. He wants to be with the Dodgers. He said that if they offered him a contract, he would take it with his eyes closed. You know, Flaherty said the same thing. Guys, yeah, they just won a World Series, right? They're the highest of highs they've ever been. Flaherty said it hammered at the parade. Like, don't put too much stock into these guys drunk on parade day being like, I'm never leaving the Dodgers. You know what I mean? Like, how many guys have said that after the Red Sox won a World Series? A ton. Red Sox players say that after losing season with the Red Sox, right? It's hard to put any stock into the World Series, the reigning World Series team. No, like maybe 100 games from all of them. Yeah, I think with 100 games you still make the World Series or the playoffs. It just depends. It depends on when they were healthy, Prodigy. Preclude him from being traded this winter? Not technically, Mark. If it makes it a lot harder, right? It makes it a lot harder. But if a team looks at the medicals and thinks he's going to be good for first couple of weeks of the season, I don't think it totally takes him off the table. Any chance you could get Sandy Alcantara for a good package coming off his injury? Yeah, I've seen that a couple of times. I don't think the Marlins are really dumb. But the Marlins aren't that dumb, right? One good season from Alcantara, and he's back to being one of the best pitchers in baseball. Did he win a Cy Young, or was he second? He did win a Cy Young, right? 22. Yeah, I mean, when's he a free agent? 27. Yeah, I think. Yeah, even if they wait a year and trade him at 30, 31, even at the deadline, makes so much more sense. Who was the last team to go back-to-back World Series? Is it the Yankees? It's probably the Yankees. What do you think about getting Fried and Buehler? I mean, yeah, that'd be fantastic, right? Do I think it's possible? Did Buehler get a QO? Did Walker Buehler get a QO? No, he didn't. Then yeah. Maybe. I don't know. Luzardo, yeah, we talked about him a little, I think, before you got on, Mark. Luzardo is a guy who I've been high on for a while, and I think he could still be a very good pitcher. But the health scares the hell out of me. I guess unless his health is so bad that it's just slowly tanked his worth to the point where you could get him for cheap, then maybe you take a chance. But I mean, you look at this, right? First year, 6 games. Second year, 12 games. 21, he had 25 games. Only 18 of them were starting. He had a 6.6 ERA. 22, he looked great, but he only had 18 starts. He had a 3.32 ERA. 23 was probably his best season considering the innings he pitched. And that was 180 innings, basically, with a 3.5. But I don't know. Heard the Dodgers want Buehler to sign with the Red Sox. Why? They don't want to get rid of homegrown talent. They do it all the time. Cody Bellinger, Corey Seager. I could probably name a bunch of others. They let go of homegrown talent all the time. Which of the big four would I trade first? To whom would be an interesting question because I don't think there's a lot of available players. I can explain that in a second, Mark. I think I've wrapped my head around it enough, and I think some quotes coming from the GM meetings have made it a bit more of a conversation. I guess it'd be Meyer, Jose. But I think only in we're talking top tier talent caliber. I don't think it's for Crochet. It certainly won't be for Luzardo. Probably shouldn't be for Alcantara. I think only top tier frontline pitching. Mark, let me explain this again because I've seen this a couple of times. I do want to address it each time because I think it's important. I was with you, right? What the hell are we doing? Nick Pivetta, a qualifying offer makes no sense. But Casas for Crochet. But coming out of the GM meetings, some really interesting quotes coming out from not the Red Sox, but opposing GM specifically, who said they think there's a legit market for Pivetta. Like to the point where they actually think the Red Sox were smart for giving him a qualifying offer. Now, these were anonymous GMs, so I can't give you actual names, but that all of a sudden makes a lot more sense, right? If the Red Sox kind of at least had a conversation with Pivetta, hey, what teams are interested, what's the market looking like, and he's saying all this, and they're like, oh, good. Teams are interested enough where, boom, we attach a qualifying offer. You're not going to take it, right? You're going to go for the years over the 1 year money. And I think that's ultimately what they did to come to this decision. And right now, the rest of the league is like, man, that was kind of smart. I think that's why we also saw Manaea get that. I also think that's why we saw Severino get that. Now, again, we talked about in the video, it's a massive, massive risk because if it pays off, you're in a really good spot because now you could sign someone with a qualifying offer. It just sort of cancels each other out. But if he accepts, you look like an absolute idiot. So, I kind of got to respect it from Breslow if that's the plan. If the plan is to bring him back on a 1 year deal, disgusting. But But if the plan was the whole time, we looked at the market, we know he's going to not opt in, we know he's going to have a bigger market than we expected, you know? Yeah, yes, Mark. I just said it's a massive risk, right? Of course, with risk comes being scared. Does that lean towards standing pat in the rotation? Personally, I don't. It could. It absolutely could. I personally don't think it does. The reason for that is just simply almost blind faith that he's not going to take it, right? If he takes it, then yeah, maybe they do stand pat, but I just think there's been so much emphasis on needing a trade. There's been so much emphasis on needing a competitive team next year. I'd be shocked if they ran back the exact same rotation, especially with the options given on the market. Again, you know, I can't wrap my head around the idea that the Red Sox are like, you know, the rotation was fine that last year. Let's bolster other positions on this team, which I guess technically would be correct, right? We talk about it all the time, Mark. With the rotation, they were solid. They were good. They were good. Right? But there are opportunities to get really, really better. And I think the Red Sox understand that. And yes, it scares the hell out of me, but sometimes you got to take the gamble, right? Sometimes you got to do something where you got a little sweat down your back for 2 weeks. Like I said, like I've been saying in the video. How late are you? About an hour and a half. Like I was said in our video last week, or videos over the last couple of days, sometimes you got to throw caution in the wind, right? Pivetta can get like 2 years, 30. So here's the thing, is that he's now getting projected for 3 years, 60. That's what some of these projections are coming in at right now. 3 years, 60 million. If that's his market, the Red Sox were geniuses for giving the qualifying offer, for seeing that early. But again, that's just, you know, it's a risk. It's an absolute risk. And we'll see if it pays off. But I do kind of like the idea that the Red Sox are gambling a bit. Right? I like the idea that they're gambling a bit. I like that they're sitting there being like, we got to take risks. If they don't pay off, great, we'll figure it out. If they pay off, perfect, we're in a great position. I don't know. I like that idea. What are the Pivetta projections based on? I think the idea that he is, or has been over the last couple of years, a league average high strikeout guy. Right? If you have a, like I talked about earlier in the video, if you have a legit front of the rotation, Nick Pivetta in the back of the rotation is great. Even if you get him for $20 million a year, if you're going to be a team that's got, let's say the Phillies, they got Nola, they got Wheeler at the top of that thing, Pivetta rounding that bad boy out isn't a bad idea. Let's go to the Dodgers, right? You got Glasnow, Yoshinobu, Ohtani, and what, Stone or Miller, throwing Nick Pivetta on the back of that. That's not a bad case at all. The Angels maybe. Where can I get a Casas Navy jersey at? I don't know. Why Crochet only threw 146 innings? I explained in the video, but basically a Tommy John suite to get so you had to get he had limitations on his innings, so he didn't blow out his arm. So if he's a solid back of the rotation guy, I think that's where the money side of this is coming from, where teams are willing to overpay for someone to actually, you know, solidify that back end. I feel like 21 million is a bit of an it is a bit of an overpay. It is. I still think he'll sign probably around 3. What's like 18 times 3, 24, 54. 3 years, 54 million. But even then, right, I think that's more appealing to Nick than a 1 year 21. So I think even if his market ends up being, you know, he's taking a look at it and he's like, I can get 3 years, 16, 17, 18 million, or 1 year 21. I think he goes with the 3 years, you know, 52 or the 55 or whatever. Do I see a trade or a signing first? I think it's going to be signing first. There are going to be trades throughout it. But I think specifically for what the Red Sox are looking for in terms of trades, unless they're looking to trade for a bat, which I don't think it's going to happen, Nick Pivetta can't get traded. He's a free agent. They're looking for pitching if they're going to look on the trade market, right? I think the trade market for starters develops after the big names on the open market go. It's kind of like we saw last year, right, with Yamamoto and Ohtani. Once those guys go, the dam opened up a bit. I think we'll see the same thing. So I would go signing before I go trade. I think teams who are going to be willing to trade starters are going to wait for teams to get desperate. I haven't, Warrior. I haven't. You can make the argument that they're overpaying for Giolito. I don't think that's a tough argument to make. But again, I think we're in an age right now I think we're at an age right now in baseball where you have to overpay for pitching. You either need to get really good at developing pitching or you need to overpay for it. And, the best teams do both. The best teams do both. So I'm not. I guess it's because it's not my money, but ultimately it's also because the Red Sox make so much money that I think I have no problem with them overpaying for any of these starters. Right? If they overpay for Snell on 3 years, I'm not going to give a damn about the luxury tax. I don't. Right? I don't think you guys should either. We should just simply want and expect the best talent on the market with this Red Sox team, right? If they overpay for Fried, I'm not going to be like, oh man, I can't believe they got Max Fried for $40 more million than what he was originally anticipated for. This is going to crush us. Like, that shouldn't be it is our reality because that's how the Red Sox have operated, right? They've been so monetarily focused for the last, 3 years. But like I look at some of these and I'm like, man, I just don't care about the overpaying. I really don't. Like I don't care how much he ends up being worth. If it leads to a championship or it leads to playoffs or it leads to a division title, I don't care if it's 5 or 6 more, Now that's not to say if the Red Sox, that's not to say if the Red Sox go out and they give Max Fried $150 more million to the next closest person, that you're sitting there saying, wait, why are we doing this, right? Of course we're going to be doing that a little bit. But at the end of the day, again, if it leads to wins, I don't care what they have to pay. Any news on Sasaki? No, but even if Sasaki gets posted, if he gets posted this year, I think the Red Sox are kind of flush from the market because there's a cap on what you can spend. So the Red Sox can't go out there and put their balls to the wall and be like, the Dodgers are giving you $250, I'll give you $350, right? Can't mess it up like you did Yamamoto. You absolutely can, and they absolutely will, and it won't be because of the money. It won't be because of the money. It'll be because they can't spend the money. So they have to go out there and they have to pitch Roki Sasaki, right, on playing in Boston as opposed to getting paid to play in Boston over the Los Angeles Dodgers, and it is not happening. It won't. The only reason Roki Sasaki pushes to get posted this season is so he could go to LA. I guarantee it. It makes way more sense. Now, I saw some stuff that he maybe wants to play for a small market team. Come on. You know what I mean? Come on. Maybe he goes the Ohtani route. I don't know, but it wouldn't make any sense. So I'm not. Hypothetical trade for Crochet. Mark, I would give it to Houck. I'd give it to Houck, but I mean, I don't think you go wrong either way there. Yeah, exactly. It's up to him. Totally up to him. The Red Sox need to be like 2015, 2016 Red Sox and spend money. A lot of those contracts didn't work out, right? Let me see here. Oh, they got Mitch Moreland on a 1-year deal. They got David Price. Was that 15 or was that 16? I guess it was. I thought he signed Bryson. They didn't really do much in 2016, for being honest. What's Bloom up to tonight? Not sure. Yeah, 2015 they had a good. 2015 they had a great offseason, huh? Why would we want them to sign Hanley and Pablo as players again? No, thank you. Jacoby Ellsbury and Eric Hosmer look like doppelgangers. Yeah, they kind of do. Now I'm seeing Pittsburgh with Skeens and Sasaki. Lordy, oh lordy. Yeah, that's the problem. Nakamura. That's the problem. Sorry, I was trying to pronounce your first name. I'm so bad at pronouncing names. I'm sorry. I'll call you Nakamura, because that one I think I got. But yeah, you're right. It ultimately comes down to his preference solely, and that's what scares me with the Sasaki stuff. I'm a convert. I was anti-Snell, and now I'm all in on him. Yeah. Yeah, I was kind of the same way, right? We made a video last year. I said I wouldn't hate it on a short-term deal. I don't love it as sort of an investment. I don't know, man. I think I'm invested. I think I'd be invested in Blake Snell. Let me see what his projected. Kyle Hendricks to the Angels. The Angels are making moves, man. The Angels are making moves. They're interesting moves, but they're moves nonetheless. I don't get a lot of them. Maybe they're just making moves to say they can make moves. I don't know. Yeah, they did get Soler. I don't see the Kyle Hendricks stuff. Griffin Canning, really? Wow. You see the Sox ever going for Skeen since the Pirates don't like to pay their stars? Maybe. I mean, I guess if he's put on the market, you have to at least have the conversation about him, right? I just don't know. So they're putting Blake Snell's value on Spotrac at $28 million. I think it'll be more than that. What's he getting now? It was supposed to be 30. It was supposed to be $38 million next year. That's crazy. It won't be $38 million. It can't be. Yeah, I'd agree with you, Nakamura. I think, yeah, if you're talking about overall ceilings, you're probably right. To me, what scares me the most is because, like, even bad Blake Snell seasons are still frontline starting pitching seasons, right? It's the injuries that scare me, right? Can he stay healthy for 30, 32 starts? Can he stay healthy for 25, 26 starts, right? More importantly, can he stay healthy through October? That's the big one, right? If you're confident in the answer, yes, I would love to have him. If you're not, I don't know. Let's see if I can get this Kyle Hendricks news up. Yeah, Kyle Hendricks has agreed to a 1-year, $2.5 million deal with the Angels. I mean, yeah, whatever, right? You would take 25 from Snell? Yeah, absolutely. Like, if you get 25 from Snell and he misses, I don't know, 5 starts in the middle of June, I think you take it all day because then he's healthy for the playoffs. Can Max Fried? That's the question. Can Max Fried? Max Fried can. Can Max Fried? He's only done it twice in his career. He's only pitched 30 starts twice in his career. He was injured in 23. He was injured in 2020 doesn't really count. Max Fried, I think, is solid. I mean, you look at the seasons that he was a full-time pitcher. 165 innings, 185 innings, 174 innings. Right? 23 is the one that really stands out, but I mean, outside of that, dude, you're talking about Max Fried is the number one. It's not even close. And when he did pitch 30 starts, it was 3 or under. Who? Snell? Yeah, I mean, the 2 years that Blake Snell pitched over 30 starts, he won a Cy Young, right? Which is crazy. Yeah, I agree, Mark. I think like we talked about it today, right? You and I in the comment section on that video where 30 starts from a starter, in my opinion, so much more important than, missing. If you miss 4 games as a starter, 5 games as a starter, I think that's a much bigger impact than if you miss 20 or 30 games as a second baseman, right? Because then as a second baseman, if you win, let's say you miss 30 games, you're still impacting 130 games that season. If you miss 5 games as a starter, you're down from 30 starts to 25. That's a big, big difference. Can we trust Fitz a little bit more? Can we trust him? Like trust him to take over that 5th spot on a full-time basis? Not yet, I don't think. No. Yes, we can. Like, my fear is the Josh Winkowski stuff, right? Josh Winkowski had similar success real early on with the Red Sox, but because he couldn't miss bats, he ended up kind of falling apart, right? I mean, Fitz doesn't walk a lot of people, but he gives up. He gave up a ton of hits in his 4 games. He only struck out 3.9. I mean, just for comparison's sake, the average major league average for strikeouts is 22.6%. Fitz was at 10. No, but Lawson, Fitz can't. His strikeout stuff was down in AAA. His strikeout stuff was half of what major league average is. Yeah, I do. Incredibly ridiculous things for Max Fried on the Red Sox. I would do absolutely ridiculous things for Max Fried on the Red Sox. I wouldn't even consider it. Also, if you guys are paying attention here and you're wondering why I look like a freshman in high school who just realized they don't have to shave every day, we are raising money for Movember. It's an organization that helps men mental health awareness as well as services and honestly physical services as well, whether that be stuff for prostate and testicular cancers. There's all sorts of great stuff that they are a part of both here in the United States and internationally. And we are trying to get $1,500 raised for them this month. Every $500 we raise, we are giving away increasingly great packages of prizes. Like today, we gave away a merch package, which had Red Seat and Red Sox merch in it. At 1,000, we're going to be giving away some autographed merchandise from some great players on this team. And then at 1,500, we're going to be giving away some Red Sox tickets. So if you guys want to help a great cause, help yourself win some prizes, and help us, one, get rid of this stupid mustache, and two, do something great as a community. There's the link. It's in the chat right now. The link is also in the description of any video that I have put out. So help us get there, guys. Any amount will do. Yeah, I guess that's... I mean, not that... For at least 2 months. Yeah, mine's not exactly coming in full and thick. Although last year really didn't look all that bad by the end of the year. It was a little patchy, but it really wasn't that bad. Six-man, including Fitz next year. I just get worried about taking an arm out of the bullpen. Like, the bullpen was so bad last year that taking an arm out of it just doesn't seem like a smart move for the Red Sox. Soon it'll be Corbin Skeens. Oh, that'd be sick. Last year I went full mustache the entire time, and it looked so dumb for like 2 or 3 weeks. I think this year I'm going to go beard. So I'm going to go scruff for a week, full scruff for a week. And then I'm going to go probably just like just this, right? Little Tony Stark action going on. And then we'll go down to the mustache on week 3. Or if we've raised the money by then, I'll shave and we can celebrate each other. But that's totally off topic. Luis Guerrero. I'm curious as to what. So here's the problem with the 6-man rotation too, Lawson, is you have to start making really tough decisions on guys like Luis Guerrero, right? Who I think absolutely deserves a chance in the in the bullpen. But if you put Fitz in the rotation, then all of a sudden those spots become more and more desired and scarce. So I don't know. I'm curious if they have any data on Luis Guerrero on Baseball Savant. Yeah, fastball velo was disgusting. He honestly looked really good, just in sort of like a small sample size here. Strikeouts were above average. Walks were really great. The problem was he wasn't giving up hard hits, but when he was giving them up, they were hit hard. Chase was solid. Whiff was solid. Guerrero's got something, man. Yeah, 97.5 was the fastball this year. Try and get the Tanner stash. If I was doing this for like 2 months, we'd experiment with it, but because we were only doing this for a month, I'm just sort of doing whatever, you know what I mean? Nolan Ryan could pitch every 3 days. No problem. And Dennis, this isn't you. I think you're just bringing this up because just to point out how good he was. I agree. One thing that I see gets utilized a lot is the old school baseball players like Nolan Ryan would never agree with the way today's pitching is handled. Nolan Ryan's a Hall of Famer, right? He's a Hall of Famer for a pretty big reason. That was because he was a workhorse that threw a disgusting fastball. He wasn't the average. He was the top one of the top 1%. Right? So I always hate that comparison of guys like Nolan Ryan could throw fast and they threw 1,000 innings. What other guys like Nolan Ryan? Right? What other guys? Every other Hall of Famer from that decade? Sure. But those are exceptions to the rule. That's why the Hall of Fame is the Hall of Fame, for guys that are exceptions to rules. He should, Warrior. I think at some point he will. Like the 5 o'clock shadow. Thanks. Yeah, we're not shaving till we get $1,500 here. Donated to Movember. All these guys pumping up velo could make them miss bats more. Yeah, true. I mean, it could, right? But I also think... I also think you need to, in my opinion, Lawson, we've talked about this before, right? With the bullpen, sure, guys can make improvements and get better, but they're still, but until they get out there and they have a season where they can pump a 2.3, 2.4, 3.3, whatever ERA out there, there are questions. There are questions. So unless that becomes more of a conversation, I think they need more consistent guys that are going to be legit people. Part of it, I think, J.O. is part of it, I think, is that he pitched to a heel injury this year. I think got a part of it. Do you think we talked to the Giants for Duvall? I thought I saw something about the Red Sox possibly being connected to Duvall. Yes, I hope so. Doval. Someone tell me again how to pronounce it. Camilo Doval, I think. Honestly, probably not a ton. Probably not a ton, Lawson. I mean, I'm sure it'd be some, but Penrod and Bernie could still be options. Yeah, but again, those are questions, right? Those aren't solid answers. I think if you're gonna do that, you should get questions. So now it's just a few teams have expressed interest. Yeah, that's fair, Nakamura, but at the same time, it's still sort of the same conversation, right? Guys in today's game are nothing like Greg Maddux. Well, yes, Greg Maddux was one of the greatest pitchers of all time, right? Could we do baseball trade value for Duvall? Sure. Let's hop on it. Check it out. Let's see what we got. I pay a pretty decent amount for premium baseball trade values, and these bozos are making me watch an advertisement. That's insane. Okay. Who's their most valuable player, by the way? Logan Webb. Yeah, that makes sense. Patrick Bailey. I guess that makes sense. They don't have a great farm system, huh? So Duvall's 11.5. I guess it depends on what they'd be looking for. Obviously, you wouldn't need anyone in this range, right? Sorry, Mike. Would they be interested in something like this? I don't know. What's their depth look like? Roster resource. Let's check out the Giants. Hey, Jean-Hu Lee was pretty solid, huh? This season. Tyler Fitzgerald. Yeah, he was a solid player. Chapman's still there. Who do they have at second base? Casey Schmidt. Yeah, they could probably improve at second base. Maybe, maybe a guy like David Hamilton is appealing to him. If not Hamilton, is like a combination of Winkowski. That way you get a name back. And hate to do this, I love Mikey. What are we at? We're at 5. Like Mydroth and Wickelman. Like, is that something they'd consider? I don't know. Would I be interested in the Red Sox doing that? I don't know. I knew I'm sorry, Mike. I said I was sorry before I put it in there, but what do you think? Would you guys do this? I like Maedras so much, though. Yeah, but where are you going to put him on this major league team? Mike, dude, I'm sorry, but I gotta stay true to the realism, man. I gotta stay true to it. I'm sorry. I swear we're friends. What's up, Joe? Sif. Sorry. You don't like being called Joe, right? If Soto goes to the Dodgers, I quit. I'd be shocked. Has a spot with Massa hurt in the bench. Massa should be fine for opening day, though. Romy holds more value. Don't forget, donate to Movember. There's a link, folks. Does he? I don't think he does. Oh. They don't even have Romy listed on here. Oh, there he is. No. No. Unfortunately, they do not. I'm surprised Peyton Toll and Brandon Neely are this low. I guess it's because they haven't pitched yet. If Teal makes the team, yeah, he would. He's not gonna make the team though. Tommy Edman would be great. Tommy Edman would be fun. That'd be a solid player. Do I pay? I think right now I like Peyton Tool a little bit better. We'll see. To the show we go. I was just mentioning them earlier. To the show we go did an interview. Sushi time? Man, I would mess up some sushi right now. Enjoy it, Mark. What was I just going to do? There was something I was going to look up, chat. Let me go back to you guys. Let me see. Do I think Tool... I think right now Tool could be a starter. I don't know, though. Guys, what am I missing? We were literally just doing something. What were we doing? Help. Help. I want Soto to the Dodgers. I just don't see it. Yeah, the Dodgers want Soto. Pipe dream got doused in cold water. MLB's Mark Feinsand offered a Soto update for the GM meetings on Tuesday, where the general consensus is that this will wind up being a two-horse race between the Yankees and the Mets. Soto likes being in New York, while other teams may try to pry him away. They're fighting an uphill battle. I think we're good. Roman Anthony and Campbell on the opening day roster. I think Campbell is a better shot. I think if anyone's traded in terms... Is that a hole in my shirt? No, it's just a fuzzy. There are enough holes in the shirt. I didn't need another one. Oh, I think Campbell's a better shot. I think if anyone's traded from the outfield, Anthony's a shoo-in. Do I see Soto on the Yankees? I don't know how high the Yankees are going to be willing to go, to be honest with you. Oh, I swear, but I saw a rumor. If $700 million gets it done, man, yeah, Soto's going to the highest bidder. I don't think he'll have any problem going to the Yankees or going to the Mets. I don't think he'll have a single problem with that. Yeah, I don't know how high are the... You know what's interesting is the Yankees were hell-bent on making sure that Yamamoto isn't paid more per year than Garrett Cole. they can't simply think the same thing about Aaron Judge, right? I guess it'd be more per season. He's making $40 million a year. So what if they gave him like 13 years, 70? How much is that? 13 years, 600 million? If you somehow wound up, if I wound up in the Angels, I'd be pumped. Imagine they were like, yeah, this kid Corbin, get him in here. This is the guy we need to turn the Angels around. As the Casas rumors start, he's a great young player. I think it was just speculation, right? He was just throwing out the possible idea. Triston Casas absolutely has 40 home run potential, and I can tell you exactly why. I can tell you exactly why. One, Craig Breslow thinks that. Two, and he's using advanced metrics and whatnot. Two, you take a look at his games this season. 13. He was on pace for 33 home runs. And that was a guy who had, 3 home runs since coming back. Last year, he had 24 home runs in 132 games. That was on pace for about 34 home runs, right? And we're talking about now he's 25. He absolutely could hit 40. Absolutely could have hit 40. Love Anthony, but in this case, maybe marinate in AAA for a little bit longer. No need to rush. Yeah, true, but there might be no reason to really go and leave him in AAA, right? I mean, we talked about what more does he need to prove before he's a big league player. You know, he crushed it in Worcester. He crushed it in Portland. It's not like he's got any glaring holes in his splits, right? The splits were, the splits, he was honestly better against lefties than he was righties this season. He was solid with runners in scoring position. He crushed older pitching, which is also impressive. He was better away than he was home, but he was still solid at home. I don't know. So I sit there, and yeah, there's some logic to the idea that, hey, if it's not the worst idea in the world to keep Roman Anthony down there. You don't want but the difference between him and Jackson Holiday is there were glaring things that stood out about Jackson Holiday that everyone was sort of like, yeah, he deserves to be up here, but boy, could this be an issue, right? And then they came up, and boy, were they an issue. There's nothing really. The only thing you point to with Roman Anthony is the swing and miss, right? Is the swing and miss going to get significantly worse at the major league level? Because if it is going to get significantly worse, Fangraph's probably better for this. If it is going to get significantly worse, then yeah, we've got a problem, right? But then that's the question: is it going to get to that point? And I think that's ultimately what this comes down to. Do the Red Sox feel as though the strikeouts, which were a 18% in 18% AAA last year, or 2024, I guess, is even, what does that look like, right? Because they're going to increase. The pitching is obviously better at the major league level. Is that going to jump up to 30%, 33%? Then yeah, maybe it's hey, keep him down there till he gets to, what he was in 2023, which is 13%. Or is it going to stick around? Maybe it's 25, maybe it's 26, right? But he's walking, 12, 13% of the time. Then yeah, it's worth it. So I don't know. I think Jackson Holiday and Roman Anthony are different conversations. Ladies and gentlemen, we just got a $50 Movember donation. Let me refresh that to see that beautiful number go up, huh? 769, folks. We are just under We are just under our next giveaway goal of 1,000. Absolutely incredible. It was an anonymous donator, so I can't thank them personally, but whoever that was, thank you very much in helping us get closer towards our goal. It's pretty crazy. We're 6 days in and we're already halfway through. No. We're close to halfway through this thing. That's pretty wild. We may be done with this. I may have to raise it to 2,000. What do you think? We may have to go to 2,000. I don't know. John Heyman said they're laying the groundwork again to spend money and be competitive again. I cannot stand John Heyman. I can't do it. Every time he opens his mouth, it makes me think the exact opposite's going to happen. He said the same thing last year. I just simply cannot believe a word that he says. As much as I would love to believe it, I just simply, until someone else outside of John Heyman says that, I don't know if it's worth talking about. I really don't. He continues to do this year in and year out, and he continues to be incredibly wrong. Like, that's great, but I just, like, give me Ken Rosenthal, give me Mark Feinsand, give me Jim Bowden, give me Jeff Passan, right? Give me one of those guys to confirm it. And then if it gets confirmed, I'm all over it. But until then, I just simply can't get behind the idea of being like, yes, John Heyman said it, let's go. Boston should trade for Kevin Gausman to reunite with Bailey. Hello, Carter. There are a couple things that I want to look at with Kevin Gausman before I give you an answer. The first is age. The first one is age that I want to look at. He's going to be 34 next year. Second thing I want to look at is when he's a free agent. So you would get him at 34 or 35, no, 34, 35 seasons. Not the worst. Then I want to look at statistics. He did see a major increase this year. He's much less effective than he was last year. He really lost something on his swing and miss, like a lot. He went from consistently being above 10 for his swing and miss per 9 to 8. About the same hits per 9, a little bit more home run, a little bit more walk, a little bit more traffic. Then I want to take a look at what his value is on the trade market, which honestly, again, the more I use baseball trade values, the less in love with it I am. But you guys do not want to see me without eyebrows. Yeah, it happened once accidentally. Trust me, you don't want to see it again. All right, let me go Gausman. I mean, okay, so according to this, he's not going to be very, very valuable to go after, but I don't hate that idea. It depends on what the actual package would be. I really want either or both Grissom or Campbell to be pro ready taking this spring. One of them will be. Does Henry own a private jet? Can we do all the wooing stuff for Max Fried? Yeah. Yes, John Henry owns a private jet. Yes, John Henry owns a private jet. He's what? He's like a multi-billionaire. John Henry. Can you look up eco emissions? FSG. Yeah, because didn't he fly on a private jet to Devers? There we go. That's what I was looking for. He is known to have a plane. Man, he's got a nice plan. Yeah, he's got a nice plan. Which, again, isn't shocking. Did you guys see the protest? The FSG out protest is super funny. Like, look, this flew over Liverpool. I don't know why I'm doing this instead of just showing it to you on my computer, but that was what was flying over Liverpool. LFC, Sox, Penguins, same problem. FSG out. They're having problems, man. I wonder, can I pull that up? FSG protest. There are some wild ones. Hold on. Where is it? I can't find it, but there were some pretty wild signs. Wait, what are we talking about, Dennis? I thought we were talking about a plane. I thought we were talking about a plane here. But I guess not. They're selling FSG out. Sweatshirts. Liverpool might be having it worse than the Red Sox are, man. Liverpool hates John Henry. Hates him. So maybe it's a little bit better. Maybe we have it a little bit better than they do. I don't know. But overall, guys, we want to call it here for the night. I think calling it here for the night is not a bad idea. I don't want to just talk to talk. I want to give you guys as much information as possible. So if nobody else has any other informations that they would like to talk about, I'm just going to quickly recap what we talked about today. Craig Breslow essentially came out and definitively said that they don't think that they are going to trade Triston Casas. It sounded like for the first time this offseason that they really, really went for a firm stance on a player, which is interesting because they haven't done that yet this offseason, and it was Triston Casas. Coming out of the GM meetings, two things that stuck out. One, the Red Sox appear to be laying the groundwork for something big. I think Boris was saying that. Agents were saying that. John Heyman was saying that, as Prodigy said. We will talk about that probably Friday in more detail because I want to wait and make sure nothing else comes out of that. I want someone else to maybe confirm that before we talk about it. And then the other thing was that the Red Sox kind of look good right now when it comes to the Nick Pivetta stuff. Now, that could flat out turn on its head. But what's interesting from the GM meetings is that a lot of GMs, they were flat out. They were like, hey, I think the Nick Pivetta stuff's a pretty good move. We'll see how that turns out. But those were sort of the highlights of the stream real quick. Either way, guys, I mean, if you're still hanging in here, it's really impressive. 2 hours, 15 minutes, not a single ounce of baseball to talk about, and you guys were here for most of the time. Even if you're here for 10 minutes, I appreciate you. It really means a lot. If you're new here, consider hitting that subscribe button. We do this once a week. We also talk Sox every day, but Sunday, sometimes Saturday, depends on what's going on. If you haven't already, again, I'm going to keep saying this because I think it's really important to me. I think it's really important for us as a community to give back to people around the world. And I think Movember is a fantastic organization that does that. Near and dear to my heart, men's mental health is something I've struggled with all my life. I think, a lot of you guys have as well. And they do a great job providing services for those in need. We're looking to raise $1,500. We're already at $700 basically. Help us get the rest of the way there. Click that link or just head over to Movember.com and look up Red Sea Radio. We'll be live. We'll be on tomorrow. We're either going to be talking about the Red Sox spending or we're going to be talking about trading one of the big four. Both of those are topics that have come up recently. So we're going to dive into those a little bit. outside of that, guys, I can't thank you enough. This is always a ton of fun. I love being on here with you all. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. And as always, I will see you in the red seats.